Hello viewers, welcome all of you in Alka's Botany channel. Today we are going to learn photoperiodism, its mechanism and significance. In last video we have studied the concept of photoperiodism along with the classification of plants according to photoperiodism. So beyond that, today we are going to learn mechanism and significance of photoperiodism. I am Dr. Alka Inamdar in Alka's Botany channel. Please like, share and subscribe the channel which gives me inspiration for the next great video. In this mechanism of photoperiodism, there is an exact sequence of reactions in the physiological mechanism of photoperiodism is still today not known, but according to its steps, there are 4 steps in the mechanism of photoperiodism. First one, photoperiodic induction. Perception of photoperiodic stimulus is the second one. Third one, phytochrome and its role in physiology of flowering. And fourth one, flowering hormone, florigen concept. Now we come up each and every aspect in detail. Photoperiodic induction. In case of short day plants, that is SDP, as well as in long day plants, that is LDP, exposure to appropriate photoperiod is essential for the induction of flowering. The initial effect of appropriate photoperiod, which ultimately leads to the flowering, is called photoperiodic induction. So the photoperiodic induction can be described as the after effect of favorable photoperiods which will result in flowering. The photoperiodic cycle, that is a 24-hour cycle which includes the initiation of flowering, is called photoinductive cycle. The minimum number of photoinductive cycles required to induce the flowering, and it varies from species to species, and it is a genetical characteristic. Example, in Xanthium pennsylvanicum, that is a short day plant, only one photoinductive cycle is sufficient to induce the best flowering. In Salvia occidentalis, 17 photoinductive cycles are required to induce the flowering. In Plantago lanceolata, which is a long day plant, it requires 25 photoinductive cycles for the best flowering. Second one aspect is the perception of photoperiodic stimulus. The importance of leaf in photoperiodic induction has been confirmed by several experiments on the plants of Xanthium. Some of the important experiments are: in the first experiment, out of many leaves on the plant, only one leaf is exposed to appropriate photoinductive cycles, and remaining leaves on the same plant are exposed to unfavorable photoperiods. The plant flowers, indicating that the stimulus received by the single leaf is sufficient for induction of flowering. In the second experiment, they have done on Xanthium plant, out of many leaves, only one is kept on the plant and remaining leaves are removed, and then the plant exposed to proper photoperiod. It also shows best flowering. That means single leaf perception is sufficient for induction of flowering. In third experiment, they have done all leaves were removed and defoliated stem exposed to appropriate photoperiod, but there is no flowers, indicating that leaf is essential for photoperiodic perception. In all the organelles of plant, from photoperiodic induction point of view, leaf is the most important organ, that is the aerial leaf which perceives the initial effect of photoperiodic induction. So leaf, or in some plants the expanded cotyledons, is the site of perception of photoperiodic stimulus. Due to photoperiodic stimulus, some chemical substance is synthesized in a leaf and from there it is translocated to the growing regions where it brings over the change from vegetative growth to reproductive growth. After that perception, this flowering substance is considered as a flowering stimulus, and to confirm the presence as well as translocation of this substance, grafting experiments were carried out in xanthium plants. In such grafting experiments, few xanthium plants were taken and divided into two groups, Group A and Group B. The plants from group A were exposed to favorable or photoinductive cycles, and group B plants they are under unfavorable or non-inductive cycles. Under normal conditions, only A group plants should produce flowers and B could not produce flowers but it remains vegetative. But when plants from group B were grafted on the plants from group A, it was observed that flowers were produced on all plants, that is from both groups A and B. This clearly indicates that the plants from group B received some flowering stimulus from group A plants through established graft unions. And the Russian plant physiologist M.C. Kajlachyan in 1937 proposed that this mobile stimulus is a flowering hormone and named it as a florigen. This evidence to show the flowering stimulus is similar in long day plants as well as short day plants. It is also provided by grafting experiments. Maryland mammoth, that is a tobacco which is a short day plant, and Hyoscyamus niger, a long day plant, were used in this experiment. Suppose short day plants are only perform as appropriate photoperiod and long day plants are kept under unfavorable conditions. Through graft unions, the flowering stimulus, which is synthesized already in the short day plants, translocated to the long day plants through that graft union. And because of that, short day plants and long day plants, both plants shows best flowering. This clearly indicates that flowering stimulus is similar in short day plants and long day plants. Third one important aspect of mechanism is phytochrome and its role in flowering. Phytochrome is a bluish-green colored proteinaceous pigment which is involved in seed germination and other photomorphogenetic responses like stem elongation, bud dormancy, flower initiation, etc. Phytochrome, which exists in two forms. Red light, that is a 660 nanometer absorbing form, that is a PR form, and far red light absorbing, that is a 730 nanometers absorbing light, PFR form. The two forms are photochemically interconversible as follows. When PR form absorbs red light, it gets converted to PFR form, and the PFR form is rapidly converted to PR by far red light and slowly converted to PR in darkness. Out of these two forms, the PFR is considered as a biologically active form and it controls many photomorphogenetic processes. When PR form of the pigment absorbs red light, it is converted to PFR form. When PFR form is the pigment absorbs a far red light, it converted to PR form. The PFR form of the pigment gradually changes to PR only in the darkness position. That is, during dark, PFR form slowly converted into PR form. And during red light or day period, PR form immediately converts into PFR form. In case of short day plants, PR form is favorable and therefore During longer night periods, this active form gets accumulated due to conversion of PFR to PR form. If the dark period is disturbed even with a flash of light, PR gets back converted to PFR, and then accumulation of PFR increases, and so flowering is inhibited in short day plants. So in short day plants, PR form is doing a best role for the activation of florigen and the best flowering. In the long day plants, PFR form is favorable. During longer daylight period, at the end of light period, sufficient amount of PFR gets accumulated. If the long day plant is not exposed to light period longer than the critical day length, PFR accumulation is not sufficient, and therefore with shorter day periods, flowering is not induced in long day plants. That means in long day plants, PFR is doing the best role. Whenever accumulation of PFR is increased, then and then only florigen shows activated and flowering happens easily. So, the flowering control is the change in day length. Whenever day length is changes, that night period and day period, photo period mechanism in the leaves, they synthesize a specific hormone, that is a florigen hormone. Whenever sufficient florigen hormone is synthesized, then and then only flower buds are developed, and which forms best flowering. Fourth one, that is a florigen concept. The Russian plant physiologist suggested the name florigen to this stimulus. As florigen is a hypothetical substance, different workers have suggested different theories for its synthesis. There are three theories. First one theory is gene activation theory by Hess in 1975. Second one theory is gibberellic acid-like hormone theory by Bryan in 1958. And third one theory is anthocyanin theory by Kajla-Chazan in 1958. Gene activation theory by Hess. He studied photoperiodic induction only in short day plants. According to him, due to absorption of light energy by phytochrome at the end of the day or light period, concentration of PFR increases and becomes high. And this higher concentration of PFR inhibits the functioning of genes for the synthesis of flowering hormone in short day plants. But during the dark period or night period, the PFR form is converted to PR form, and the higher concentration of PR and very low concentration of PFR is favorable for the gene controlling the synthesis of flowering hormone in short day plants. In the apical meristematic tissue of florigen activates and genes for the development of floral primordium. This gene activation is responsible for the change over from vegetative growth to reproductive growth. During dark period, PR form increases, and because of that gene activation takes place, and due to gene activation flowering happens in short day plants. Second one theory, that is a gibberellic acid-like hormone theory. According to Bryan, during the synthesis of flowering hormone, GA-like hormone is synthesized as an intermediate compound. According to him, during florigen synthesis, initially some substance is synthesized in the leaf in presence of sunlight by utilizing atmospheric carbon dioxide. This substance is synthesized, and it is used as a precursor, and it's get accumulated during the daytime. After sufficient amount of precursor substance, due to effect of red light rays, the precursor is converted into the gibberellic acid-like hormone. During dark period, there is a slow reconversion of GA-like hormone back to the precursor. After accumulation up to some definite level of GA-like hormone, then converted to florigen. And this step shows best flowering. The steps for conversion are different in short day plants and long day plants. In both the types of plants, once enough florigen is synthesized, flowering will occur successfully. Third one theory, that is Anthocene theory by Kajla-Chajjan, which is given by him in 1958. According to this theory, in process of flowering, there are two steps. The reactions in one step are controlled by gibberellin, and those in the remaining steps are controlled by another flowering factor called anthocene. Together, gibberellin and anthocene constitute the true florigen. This means the flowering hormone or florigen is not a single substance, but it is a mixture of two substances, namely gibberellin and anthocene. Out of these two substances, gibberellin is the known substance, while the anthocene is the hypothetical substance. In long day plants, out of these two substances, the synthesis of gibberellin is under photoperiodic control, while anthocene synthesis is not controlled by photoperiod, but plant can endogenously synthesize the anthocene. Therefore, in long day plants exposed to non-inductive cycles and after sufficient anthocene is present, but there is no synthesis of gibberellin. If we exogenously apply the gibberellins, then plant shows best flowering. But in case of short day plants, out of these two substances, the synthesis of anthocene is under photoperiodic control, while the gibberellins is not controlled by photoperiod. Therefore, in short day plants exposed to non-inductive cycles, there is a sufficient amount of gibberellin, but there is no synthesis of anthocene. And this anthocene is again a hypothetical substance. We don't know what is the anthocene. If we know that, then we will exogenously apply for that best flowering. But it is not yet possible because anthocene is again a hypothetical substance. Out of these three theories, many workers accept the third theory, and gibberellin plays an important role in the mechanism of flowering. Now we come up to the significance of photoperiodism. After knowing the photoperiodic requirements, the plants of floricultural importance can be brought into flowering at any time of the year by growing the plants under appropriate day length conditions in greenhouse or polyhouses. Commercial flower growers can take advantage of the night break phenomenon to regulate the time of flowering in case of many plants of economic importance and belonging to short day category. Whenever commercial value increases, only on that period they can take flowering easily with this photoperiodic significance. When photoperiodic requirements are known, both temperature and photoperiod can be regulated and plants of horticultural importance can be made to flower at any time by growing them in greenhouses so that flowers and seeds can be obtained as and when required. In some plants like sugarcane, lettuce, etc., flower production decreases the amount of commercial product as well as commercial value of that plant. By exposing the plants to non-inductive cycles or by night break phenomenon in case of short day plants, flowering can be avoided and plants are kept in vegetative conditions. This will help the cultivars to reduce the loss from crop plants as well as loss of the commercial value of that plants. Thank you. Thank you very much.